There's always that guy or that girl at your holiday work party that likes to order shots for everyone, gets way too tipsy, and then turns into a really touchy-feely emotional mess. Maybe they even start walking around giving everyone hugs and kisses.
You know the type. If it's a coworker who you have a close relationship with, then it's all in good fun and you can have a laugh about it when you get back to work. But what if that person behaving badly is your boss or another high-ranking person in the company? You feel uncomfortable, your personal space has been invaded, but you don't want to make a scene, so you tolerate the person.
Joining us from Toronto is David Whitten. He's a partner at Toronto employment law firm Whitten Lublin. Sorry about that, David. So I want to start by asking you, at this time of year, how many cases of, I guess you call it sexual harassment, or I don't know, you can tell me what it's called, when someone complains that they've been harassed at a party?
Well, I can tell you that they dramatically increase around this time of year, but some of them, like a good wine, ferment over time, and you don't see the issue arise until the new year when the people are back in the workplace together, and the manager with the lampshade on his head is now dealing with that person that they were harassing at the party or being overtly friendly with in the workplace. That's when the rubber really hits the road oftentimes.
So can I just ask you, would it be in a case where someone had rebuffed their advances and they might be paying for it because the manager remembers that their advances were not welcome?
Well, that's precisely it. Or more commonly, you'll have the managers feeling kind of sheepish about their behavior, so they turn down their interaction with the employee and they get kind of cool towards them, and the employee perceives that as a reprisal for them turning them down or for not playing along with the antics and shenanigans at the party. And then from there, it just gets worse, because if there's any negative impact to the employee, they don't get the assignment that they want, or they perceive that they're being treated in a poor manner, they'll link it back to the party.
David, you say that there's been a tremendous increase over the years in these types of cases. I submit to you it's because we're a fairly litigious society now, comparatively speaking. But something that years ago would be, oh, that's just so-and-so being so-and-so, is now looked at differently by, instead of just one segment of the population, just about everybody realizes that that person is behaving inappropriately. True?
Well, I think you're partially right about that. I like to think that we'll never be as litigious as they are south of the border.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah, but that's unfortunate for my profession, I suppose. But I think what's happened, though, is that people are expected to do more with less. Like, a lot of companies have cut headcount. People have more responsibilities, more duties, more work. And so they're that much more stressed. And so when it comes to the holiday party, it's gloves are off. Let's drop our hair and let's start doing shots to make up for all that stress and anxiety we felt.
Sure. So David, maybe you can define for us and the viewers, like, what constitutes crossing the line? Because, you know, we're close with some of our coworkers and our bosses, right? We're all human beings. We spend a lot of time together. You know, a hug, putting my arm around you, a peck on the cheek. When is it crossing the line?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I mean, it's a fact-specific determination. I mean, I think the first thing that an employer should do to protect themselves is set out a code of conduct that they share with their managers and staff so that everybody has a better idea as to what the employer considers to be crossing a line. But it's really defined as unwanted contact. And just the other day, I was reading an article that says here in North America, the proximity to a colleague in any social situation should be about the length of your forearm and your hand. If you're getting any closer than that, then you're considered to be invading someone's space. If you're starting to move in for a smooch or the ubiquitous boob grab or something of that nature, you have definitely crossed the line. So I think you really have to be careful not to get too close, to try to govern yourself in a manner that recognizes that your conduct, although you're feeling great, may not necessarily be received the same way by who you're talking to.
Okay, David, I know you can't mention names or anything, but can you give us an example of a case where when the client first approached you and said, here's what happened, you went, okay, I'm pretty sure we can win this case. This is pretty standard stuff. This guy or this girl was out of line. You're going to win the case. What happened?
Well, the ones that ride the fine line are more, there's less touching involved and more interaction, like through commentary. But I did have one case where a client was accused of harassment because they ended up in a dance session with a colleague, and the bumping and grinding started going on. I think it was one of their favorite hip-hop songs.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if they were twerking or not. I don't think that had become in vogue just yet, but they'd certainly gotten a little closer than their colleague expected them to, and that's where we ended up in an issue where I thought that the person is there with you on the dance floor, so they're there by their own consent, but at the same token, you can quickly cross that line by moving too close to them and rubbing against them and so on and so forth.
Okay, so give me an example of what happens. I come to you and I say, listen, you know, so-and-so at the party was hands all over me and I kept saying, get away, get away, get away. I'm really sick and tired of it. And now I feel like they're not giving me the assignments at the office. What do you do? Where do we go from here?
Well, the first thing you need to do if you feel like you are subjected to harassment or inappropriate behavior is go to HR or your manager. I mean, I recognize that not all companies are large enough to have...
And let's just say it was someone in HR or my manager, so I'm nervous about that. Because, you know, sometimes, right?
They all know each other, too.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you got to escalate it until you get to the level where there's somebody that you trust to disclose to. And it may not be somebody in HR. It may be a senior manager. It may be the president. I mean, it may be the owner in some instances. But I think the first thing is to report it and to make them aware that what happened there was something that you weren't comfortable with. And first of all employers now are mandated to have harassment policies in the workplace. And so any of us all employers should have that policy in place, and they should have a process that's described in there for what you do if you feel you've been harassed. And so you should follow that process.
Okay, great. Well, we appreciate your time today. Hopefully, nobody watching or here will have to deal with any of this.
By the way,
and we won't be seeing you. Sorry.
No twerking, right? You said be careful with twerking.
Try to avoid twerking in the office. Absolutely.
Can you imagine Mark twerking? Oh my gosh. All right, that's David Whitten, a partner at the Toronto employment law firm Whitten Lublin. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.